I
Okay.
want to start about the fires first because
Yeah.
you are about 7 miles away from these horrible fires taking
Yeah.
place in California. Can you just give people some background on where you live and how far you are?
Yeah. I am in a pretty little safe area, but these fires have happened so fast. And I think that, you watch the news and you're watching different things and it's easy to judge or be like, how would that happen like that? And there's a lot of things that have taken place. One, the terrain is uphill. It's steep. It's thick brush. And it's dry. I heard on the news that we haven't had rain in 8 months.
Right.
And then you have these red wind
Wait,
warnings.
you're not blaming DEI hires?
I absolutely would not. Um, and so you have these winds that got up to 100 miles an hour, and the
Right.
things were just spreading so fast. And then you can't do airdrops, and it
You have
just made it
ash all over
crazy.
your yard? Like,
Yes,
God, that's so
all
scary. But
over.
your house is okay.
Our house is okay. Yep,
Yeah.
we are totally good. The air quality is moving, but like you still got to be careful because there's asbestos, there is
Right.
lead paint. A lot of these houses were built so long ago.
How far are you from the Palisades?
That's 7 miles.
Wow, that
Yeah,
whole area is gone.
I know my kids lost their theater, and I will
Oh my
never forget.
God.
Like, we looked out our window, and my kids are in school in the Palisades, and we look out and see billowing smoke, and I panic because I'm like, my kids are in there.
Of
And of
course.
course, at that moment, we didn't know the extent that it was going to become.
Hmm.
And run down to the school. It was very difficult to get them out because they were trying to check driver's license and do it
I'm
like
so
the way
sorry.
that they're supposed
That's
to.
traumatic to see that stuff
Yeah.
and
And
all
then
yeah.
watching on the news, watching their theater burn down, and like watching it get to all the things that I was
Right.
like, "Oh my gosh." Yeah, it's
That's
been
so hard. I'm
devastating.
so sorry and obviously for all the people that were affected. I think how a normal person reacts to this that don't live in California like me or normal people, we think about people like you. We think about your kids. We think about people that have lost their lives. We think about
Yeah.
people that have lost their homes, their livelihood, right? What can we do to help, right? I donated some money. Jimmy Kimmel has a foundation that I donated to, and there's a lot of good people doing a lot of good things. I want to start
Yeah.
with positive. People like I'm going to name a few. Jay Leno has been serving food to the firefighters, which I think Jay Leno's awesome. And I look at some other people like Sean Penn, who has his organization. And there are so many. Angelina Jolie has literally opened up her house to strangers. Um, so there are a lot of good people doing a lot of good things. But what gets me so damn angry are the people that make this political. They want to go after the mayor. They want to go after Gavin Newsom. First of all, if you want to do that and point fingers, fine. But now's not the time, right?
Right.
What do you make of that? And Donald Trump now wanting to put in stipulations to aid to help your friends. What do you
Yeah.
make of that?
It's frustrating because in the midst when it was becoming political, we were literally in a state of emergency. Evacuation orders were popping up on my phone nonstop, and you're getting the emergency alerts. And I was like, now is not the moment. I think there's things for us to discuss and look at and
Yeah.
dive into, sure. But like in the moment where we're literally trying to save animals and people, I remember watching the news. This was the most horrific moment was when the Eaton fire started and it blew up so fast and they were emptying out a senior center and they started rolling out beds, hospital beds with people who are like hospice, that are like elderly, that are like can't move on breathing tanks and they're all in a parking lot with plumes of smoke and I was like this is horrific. These are people's loved ones. These are people's like
Right.
final moments in life. It's cold in LA. It's so windy. Like these people should absolutely not be outside. And so like to politicize something that is so horrific to not just even a small group, but thousands and thousands of people.
It's despicable.
It's not the moment.
It's
It's not
it's
the time.
and after the attack in New Orleans, the terrorist attack,
Yes.
they blamed it on Joe Biden open border
Yeah.
policies, right? Which is absurd because it wasn't even an illegal that committed those horrible heinous crimes. And now they're blaming it on DEI hires of firefighters that are risking their lives every day, working 25-hour shifts. They're blaming it on a lot of things that, Donald Trump the other day was talking about sprinklers, that somehow sprinklers were, first of all, this started in residential areas. So it wasn't, raking forests that started the most of these
Yep.
fires. There could be some arson involved as well. But we also know, as you mentioned, 100-mile-per-hour winds, the drought that they have been facing. And Donald Trump makes it sound like you can just turn a faucet on and this would have never happened.
Well, and that's what a lot of my cousins who don't live in state were like, Courtney, how come there's no water in the hydrants? And I was like, love, like, you got to understand, like, we're pumping so much water through so many different places. And then you have people who are using their hoses because they're like, well, I got to try and save it myself. And so that takes down the water pressure, and then you have no power and it's trying to pump uphill, and that takes down the water pressure, and we're trying to fight this like fire that's just, it needed airdrops.
Right.
It needed that.
And they're
So
working 24/7, right?
yeah.
Are you involved in any charities that you'd like to talk about to help people?
Yeah, I started GoFundMe for a dear friend of mine. She's a single mom. They lost their home. They barely were
Oh,
able to get in to get their dog out, but they did. So we're so thankful for that. But they lost everything. They lost their home, all their belongings. She lost her job. She's a school teacher. And so I started a GoFundMe for them. And then I also am a huge dog lover. If you follow me on social media, you know that. And I collect donations to drop off crates.
that's so nice of you.
So we've saved tons and tons of dogs. And then we've collected, I mean, anything. The firefighters were like, we need pop-up tables and tents. And so like literally the night of the fire, we like went into our shed and like grabbed all those things. So it's like, I'm in a community support group. Anything that's needed, we find it, we donate it, and we get it to where it needs to be.
That's so nice of you. I really appreciate you doing that. And there's so many other people like you that are doing so many wonderful things
Yeah.
that I like to talk about. And unfortunately, sometimes it gets overshadowed by the hatred. And I feel like, and you tell me if you disagree, that Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans are holding Gavin Newsom and some of the Democrats that they might disagree with politically, they're holding them hostage. There are people that, as you said, they've lost their homes, they've lost everything, they've lost loved ones. And at this time, you don't hear Donald Trump saying, geez, our thoughts and prayers for the families. This is horrible. We'll be there for you. Like the way Joe Biden did
Yes.
right there at the day of the tragedy. He was there. He was meeting with first responders. And I just feel like in a time of need like this, it's usually the Democrats, not all the time, but usually the Democrats, like the hurricanes in Florida. They're always there giving 100%. I remember Chris Christie, New Jersey, got criticized for shaking the hand of Barack Obama when they were going through some horrible circumstances with the weather. And Obama was there for them. Joe Biden's there for the state of
Yeah.
California, of course. And Donald Trump wants to withhold aid because maybe he didn't win California. It's so childish and it's so awful.
And let's not mention that he hasn't come to California once since the fires.
Mhm.
And
He's been playing golf. Yeah.
yeah, I live close to LAX, so I was in my house when Biden flew over because he's got the whole like entourage, and we are still waiting on Trump to make his appearance in California. But
Interesting.
he's so petty, and we've known that for a long time. Before any of this took place,
Right.
he's done this to Gavin Newsom in California. He's going to withhold things. He's going to do things. He's going to, all these things. So his reaction to this is unfortunately not shocking. It's devastating because it doesn't impact Gavin Newsom. I mean, yes, but like the real people that it impacts are the victims
Sure.
who are like, I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's Malibu. There's a lot of money in there. It's the Palisades, also a lot of money in there. And the truth is, yes, there's money, and also there's not, because there's people who have been passed down generational homes from parents, loved ones, whatever it is, and they actually don't have any money. And so losing this home makes them homeless.
They've lost
They're in
everything.
shelters. They're like,
Some of them have
yes,
also lost their jobs.
correct.
You
Those are
can't
burned down too.
work in an office if it's burnt down.
Exactly.
So many have lost their businesses, not
Yes.
just their homes. And it's not so easy to rebuild when you don't have the money to do it.
And let's also remember that how traumatizing this is. Like, just to be like, oh, we're gonna get out there and rebuild. I do think we will get there, but like, there's a huge grieving process that's happening where like, it's not just your home and your belongings, it's memories, it's your community, it's family. Like, it's so much that goes into it that I think people are just kind of like, meh, whatever.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm with you. We hope that everybody gets whatever they can in such a very difficult time.